Welcome back to the No One Asked Us podcast. Is that what we're calling this? A podcast? Or are we a show?
Either. A podcast is a show.
A podcast is a show. We're going to roll with that. The No One Asked Us podcast. I'm Logan Lee. He's Craig Schote. We got a lot to talk about today. Big week for Illinois basketball. Both some positives and some negatives came out of the week. So that's stuff we want to touch on a little bit. Spring training's underway. So, we'll get to that a little bit. And the Globes took place. Well, recording this right after the Globes, but Sunday night, the Golden Globes happened. So I'll have some hot takes on that, I'm sure, as we get a little further. But Craig, we'll just kind of kick it off with Illinois basketball. Let's just get started hot and heavy here. Instant reaction from, obviously the big Ayo take, but the way they recovered and played well without him. I mean, what was your instant reaction from both of those games after that?
Last week we said you needed a 3-0 week from Illinois. You get a 2-1 week, but the 2 wins come without Ayo, which makes the week a win, I think, for Illinois.
I agree.
When Ayo went down, well, actually, I guess it would have been Thursday, because when he went down, we didn't know he was hurt because he finished the game. But Thursday, I saw reports early in the morning that Ayo had a broken nose and he was out until the Big Ten tournament. I was like, wait, what? Wait, where is this coming from? And then I did some checking, and everything that I heard from people that I know said, yeah, he's out. He broke something, and then it, of course, Illinois being Illinois, said it's a facial injury. Don't know if part of me believes that it's more than a broken nose, actually.
I think it is,
because they show some close-ups of him on the bench, and below his eyes puffed up and bruised. So it could be more than a broken nose. But to win 2 games without him says a lot about this program and this team, I guess I should say. One of them, Nebraska at home, should have won that one. Illinois is better than Nebraska even without Ayo. But to go into the Kohl Center on Saturday and pull that one out, and you really controlled the game until Demetric Trice went off for 19 straight. So it was a really good sign for this program, especially for the future, I think. A good sign for this year, because if Ayo is out for an extended period of time, I think they could still make it to Saturday of the Big Ten tournament, win that first game, because they've clinched that double bye. So it shows that they can make it to the semis and probably win their first round game in the tournament without him, and push whoever they play in the second round to the brink for a Sweet 16 spot, because this team has talent without Ayo. And I don't want to sound like it's a good thing that he got hurt, but in a way it is, because it's allowing Adam Miller to step up and Andre Curbelo to step up and get some experience, not only for next year, but for this tournament if Ayo's gone. So looking back at a 2-1 week, I know we said you needed 3-1, but with Ayo out, this 2-1 week is really impressive for multiple reasons in my eyes.
No, and I agree. And I think that's kind of been my biggest takeaway from most this season is this team has been great. Obviously they're a top 5 team in the country, but they have been relying heavily on 2 players. I mean, Ayo and Kofi have carried this team. Yes, you had moments where Trent stepped up, and different players have stepped up at different times. But to be able to get the production that they were able to get out of Adam Miller and Curbelo, Jacob Grandison stepping up. I mean, they got some big moments from some guys that haven't really shown much of that up to this point, because they haven't really had to. This is a team that even when they've been in a crunch time situation, Ayo's the one that's dug him out of it. He dug him out of it against Nebraska the first time a couple weeks ago. And you made the comment about they should beat Nebraska regardless, but it needed overtime and Ayo to play hero ball the first time they played him. So I was a little hesitant going into that game. What is this team really made of? And they really showed it. And I was really impressed. Adam Miller was huge the first couple of games of the season, and then has been, he plays some good defense, and he'll hit a bucket or 2. He's a good shooter, but there have been times in the second half of games where he's just nowhere to be found. So just the fact that you're getting the chance to yes, not only build for the future, but most importantly, build for the rest of the season, because there's a lot on the line here. This is clearly one of the best teams in the country. They have a lot going into this last week, whether or not Io plays. These games are important, but in terms of seeding and position, in terms of anything playoff related, postseason related, they probably won't have much of a factor on it.
Mm-hmm.
But to know that you are capable of playing that way with these other players going into the Big Ten tournament and then to the national tournament, it's really going to help some ego and some confidence, and it's really going to be beneficial for him, I think.
Yeah, if you need to keep Io out, if he's not 100%, don't play him this week.
No,
Because
I
I'm pretty sure they've got their spot in the Big Ten tournament locked up at 2. I'm not
I think it
positive.
is going into after the win yesterday. I was pretty certain that they had locked in the double bye.
Yes,
And now, after Ohio State lost, I think they've secured the 2 spot,
that's what I
even
believe.
if they lose both of these games this week, which is certainly possible that they will, especially if Io
Yeah.
doesn't play. But the fact that you can, that's just nice to think about, that this team is at this position where they lose their best player with 5 games to go in the regular season. They win the 2 games following that, and they have already set themselves up to be the number 2 seed, regardless of what happens to the other 2 games. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a nice feeling to have. I'm sure uh, they're liking where they stand as well. You obviously want to get Io back on the floor, but as you
Mhm.
said, you don't want to rush him. There's no sense in rushing him. Make sure that he's healthy in time to come back for the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, hopefully that first game that you play in the Big Ten tournament, he is available, and he will likely be wearing not the masks that we know today, but he will be wearing a different kind of,
Covering up a
yeah,
different part of the
he'll
face.
be wearing a different kind of facial protective mask to protect the broken bones, whatever the injury, we'll just say. Um, and I know he'll practice with it, but it would be nice for him to get a game with that mask under his belt before heading into the semis and finals and all that. Now, while we were talking, I was just thinking, and I thought of this Saturday. I don't want to call Iowa ball hog because he's definitely not. He's averaging 5+ assists a game. But do you think that with him out, the other guys in the offense, it's definitely more spread out. You're not having
Yeah.
guys score 20+ points. Do you think it's a good thing for the offense in a way? Because it's, if you lose the National Player of the Year, who we both think he probably is the best player in college basketball, that's not a good thing. But it's allowing the offense to do more things, I think, in a way. Although they did have 20 turnovers.
Yeah. The turnovers, and well, it's been free throws. The free throw shooting was actually solid against Wisconsin,
Yeah.
but free throw shooting has been an issue too. But
Yeah.
yeah, the turnovers, at one point it was late in the game, and it was before Trice went on a roll and made it a close game again. But I was thinking, like, there's 3 minutes left in this game. Illinois is up like 12 points without their best player against a top 25 team on the road in the Big Ten, and they have 20 turnovers. Like, it was just
Yeah.
mind blowing to me that this was a position that they were in.
Well, it's because Wisconsin
Um,
made one of their first
I
25 shots.
I know they were bad. They were bad to start. Uh, but no, I know what you're saying, and I agree. I think that it's obviously nice them being in the situation that they are, because had they lost 1 or 2 more games at different points in the season, you'd be playing, the pressure would be a little higher. Not necessarily to make the tournament by any means, but for seeding or whatever the case may be. There could be a lot of different things on it. So, being in the position that they're in with the record that they have, yeah, they're in a good spot. This is, if you're going to lose Io, sure, this is the time to do it.
Mhm.
Get them ready to experience that type of adversity. Some of these younger players that haven't had to do it. Trent hasn't had to be that guy for 2 years, 3 years. You know, so it's good to know that they can do it.
Yeah.
If they can pull off a win this week against either one of those teams, Michigan or Ohio State, without Io, that would be phenomenal. I'm not going to count on it, especially Michigan, maybe Ohio State.
Right.
But we'll see. I mean, I think that those will be interesting matchups regardless. That Michigan matchup on Tuesday is going to be fun down in the paint. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just have to see what they can continue to put together, because he's probably not going to play, and that's fine.
Yep.
They need to take advantage of the opportunity to, make some mistakes and learn some things and get ready for the tournament.
Yeah. With Illinois' 2 wins and Ohio State losing today, I saw a couple people drop Ohio State from the 1 line, move Illinois up to the 1 line.
Lenardi had it.
Yeah. Brad Evans, who is an Illinois grad.
Yep.
He has them in there as well.
Disclaimer.
So yeah, there's still plenty to play for. 1 seed would be phenomenal for this program. Haven't made a tournament since 2013. And to get a 1 seed, I know they would have made it last year, but still a lot to play for. But without Ayo, I don't think they win Tuesday, but I think they could beat Ohio State even without Ayo. Ohio State's good, but I don't want to say they're overranked because they are good, but I think they've overperformed all season.
No, I think that's probably true. The Ohio State loss at home was back there with the back-to-back home losses that, again, didn't cost Illinois anything, but it would have been nice to have those, at least one of them.
Yeah.
Both of those games were winnable. So, they'll look back at that as a road bump, but either way, they're still in a position to be a 1 seed, maybe a 2 seed. And
I think they're a 2 seed for sure.
Unless
they
agree.
lose, unless they go on a 3-game losing streak here, I think they're a 2 seed for sure.
Yeah. And I guess it just depends. I don't know. I think the committee will put into effect that Ayo's not playing. Yes. If Ayo plays and they still lose 3 straight, then it might be a little different, but we'll see. But I agree. I think they have a 2 seed locked up. I think they're playing for a 1.
I think the net rankings actually take into effect injured players.
Yeah.
So with Ayo out, the net wouldn't drop them too much if they lost. So
yeah.
So at least we got that.
Well, there's a lot to play for this week.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to getting you fired up about Big Ten officiating after Tuesday's game against Michigan State, but
Tuesday was the bad one.
Things kind of changed a little bit. So that's the thing, when you play 3 games in the week, a lot happens, and a lot did happen for Illinois this week. But I was really looking forward to getting you on a rant about.
I was kind of looking forward to it too, because I got a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of hate on social media, but Tuesday was the bad day, the bad game for the officials. I think we can start with the Ayo injury play.
Yeah,
they didn't call a foul on it.
No.
I forgot the guy's name. Maddie.
I don't remember.
I can't remember his last name. It's Maddie, Mady. Last name starts with an S, from Michigan State, but comes down on Ayo, obviously arm to the head, breaks bones, facial injury, whatever, to Ayo, and they don't call a foul on that play. And that's the second time he did it. He chopped Kofi on top of the head in the first half, and the refs didn't call a foul. So that's my issue. And anytime you criticize officials, everyone looks at the free throw differential. And in that game, Michigan State fouled Illinois a lot more. So Illinois had a lot more free throws shot, but that's not my point at all. The free throws aren't the issue. The issue is those calls, the easy calls, seem to be easy calls. I know I can say that from where I'm sitting, but it's they're so inconsistent, and they're missing so many easy calls. Just that Tuesday night, you got those calls on Michigan State on the hits to the head on Kofi and Ayo. There's a ball that goes off of a Michigan State player, hits the official out of bounds off Michigan State, and he gives the ball to Michigan State. They had a guy fall in the backcourt, slid 5 feet, no travel call. Those are the calls that get me fired up. It's not the fouls. The fouls, I mean, I'm not going to complain about fouls. They're so inconsistent and they're so bad. Thursday night was better, but you gave 5 technicals in the first half. 2 double technicals. What's the point of a double technical? To tell the kids to calm down? I don't get it. And my big thing is there's no accountability with the refs. They don't have to answer to their calls. I'm sure they get reviewed, but what does that do? Nothing. They're hired. They make 5 bad calls in the game. They're on a game the next night. That's my issue, is that there's no accountability. They don't hold these officials responsible for changing the way outcomes of games. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. There's been a lot of inconsistencies, and I mean, there's always bad calls in all sports by
Oh
any
yeah,
officiating
yeah,
crew.
yeah.
Angel Hernandez had a call today. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And the
He's in
radio
mid-season
call or
form.
the TV call, whatever. That was, I mean,
Shout
so
out Dan McLaughlin.
you have that. So like that's just gonna happen. But yeah, it just does seem like this year in the Big Ten, especially, and I don't watch a ton of non-Illinois Big Ten games, but I have
Yeah.
seen some, people complain about some of the same stuff on Twitter. And so I agree. I just think something has to be done. It's just there's just so much inconsistency with it, and I don't know. It's definitely
Yeah.
affecting outcomes of not necessarily every single night, but
Sure.
it's affecting things to a degree that probably needs to be looked into.
Yeah, I mean, Brad, after the game, Brad Underwood said Michigan State fouls more than any team in either the Big Ten or the country. I can't remember. So they were expecting that, and
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I mean, they shot 34 free throws, or I think Illinois went 19 of 34 from the free throw line. So they were expecting that. It's just they're just bad, and it's the same guys, I think. So it would be an easy fix to find replacements. And I mean, we can bitch about it all we want, but what we say really isn't going to matter. It's going to be Brad talking to Josh Whitman and Whitman talking to the Big Ten office, which I've seen multiple people, the Illini beat reporters, say that communication hasn't been great under the new Big Ten commissioner and his administration, Kevin Warren, that there's not much communication between his office and the team. So that could be an issue, because Jim Delaney, I think, was really good with that. So
Yeah.
It's an issue that needs fixed. I don't have the answers. They're not coming to me for the answers. So we just got to put up with it and keep watching. But
do you want them? Do you want them to come to you for the answers?
If they'll give me the paycheck for making the decision, I'll take the heat.
Of course you will. Of course you will.
Yeah. One of these days it's going to cost the team an actual game, and then we'll probably see a change. But until then, I don't think anything's going to be any different.
Yeah. Well, so just to kind of circle back, two big games this week for Illinois.
Yep.
Probably without Ayo.
Yep.
So what would you like to see out of this team this week, just to kind of keep the confidence up and try to see if they can pull out a win without Ayo?
Yeah, just keep it close. If you can win, great. I think they can win in Columbus. Michigan and Ann Arbor it's gonna be tough. Michigan's
really good.
Michigan's really good. I've watched Baylor, obviously, because Baylor played Illinois. I've watched bits and pieces of Gonzaga, but they're so hard to watch because their conference is so shitty that they're winning every game by 30. So if you want to watch Gonzaga play a good team, you had to do it months ago, which I caught a little bit. But I do think they're the best team in the country, though. That being said, but Michigan's right there with them. They're deep. Yeah. They've got someone at every position. Hunter Dickinson, he's the more modern day big man, so it's going to be a tough matchup for Kofi because Dickinson can step out. I don't know that he has the 3-point range, but he's definitely got mid range. So they're going to pull Kofi away from the basket. But their guard depth is really good. Their wing depth is really good. It's at Ann Arbor, so if you can keep it close, single digit loss would probably be acceptable, and then go to Columbus and hang with them and try and pull off a W there. And if you can head into the Big Ten tournament, into your double bye with a win, I think it would be, especially if Ayo doesn't play, it would be huge for this team to go and try and make some noise over there with a win. So I'm expecting an 0-2 week. I expect 2 losses, but I just would hope that they can keep them close.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm the same way. I'm expecting 0-2. I think a win is possible at Ohio State. I'm definitely not ruling that out. But we'll just have to see. As we said, the seeding is pretty much locked. So, at this point, they're just playing to keep it close and to not get hurt and to stay healthy. So We'll have to see. It's going to be a fun week, though.
Mhm.
So, Craig, you and I both went to this university down in Carbondale, and they have a football team there. I don't know if you know about this. Did you know the Southern Illinois had a football team, Craig?
I've been to a couple games.
You've been to a couple games. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know that Southern Illinois played North Dakota State on Saturday?
Really?
Really? And North Dakota State is a really good football program. They
The
won like a million straight games.
the Bison?
The Bison. There's a
Oh,
Z. It's a Z,
okay.
Craig.
Spelled with an S,
Bison.
but pronounced with a Z. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
The Bison. They won like a million straight football games until Saturday. The Fighting Nick Hills took down the Bison while we were watching Illinois basketball.
Oh, I was watching both.
Okay, well, I was watching Illinois basketball. I did turn it over at one point because I thought it was going to be closer than it was, and it was a blowout. Southern was kicking their ass, and I said, "Okay."
Yeah.
So then I went back to basketball to watch what's his face drop 60 points on Illinois in the last 3 minutes and almost give up the game. So, is Southern Illinois football back, or was that just a really bad day at the office for North Dakota State?
I think both. I think Southern Illinois football is back, but first, you can't really see it because I got this weird cover on my camera. So down in this corner, you can't really see. I got some decoration though.
The black helmet.
So,
I love it.
So there's that. For those
That's
listening,
nice.
I'm holding up a mini SIU football helmet from the
That's
college
nice.
days. So there's a little decoration there. For those on YouTube, you can kind of see it.
I have, I'm not going to grab it, but I have an image, a picture of all the bars and restaurants and fun places of Carbondale.
Pubs of
That's
Carbondale.
Yes, the pubs of that thing.
Yep,
The pubs
I got
of Carbondale.
the same
Do you
thing
have that too?
downstairs.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that is in here.
Yep.
That might be the only Southern thing in this room. But anyway,
Yes.
Saluki football back.
Yes, I think so. I mean, they should have made the playoffs last year.
Yeah,
and they were snubbed. I think 24 teams make the FCF playoffs. They were probably 25. They were ranked 25th in the country last year. They play in the toughest conference. They should have been in last year. So I do think SIU football is back. Not to where they were when I started in school. I think they went to the Elite Eight. Maybe next year was the Final Four year. So I don't think they're to that level, but they're definitely a playoff caliber team. They did this with their backup quarterback. Corey Lyles got hurt last week at not Notre Dame, the other ND at North Dakota.
North Dakota.
I was watching that. He took a vicious hit on a sack. I don't know if he broke ribs. It's a rib injury. So he was out, and then in comes Rochester product, Nick Baker. And I mean, I watched most of it, what I could, dual screen from Illinois and SIU, and they looked really, really good. They've got Javon Williams Jr., a Centralia kid at he's kind of like a hybrid. Sometimes he's quarterback, he can throw, he's a running back and a H-back and all that. So SIU football is in a really good place right now, I think. I don't know what happened at North Dakota. That was ugly. I watched most of that as well. They did not, something was off. They did not look right. I don't know if it was because Lyles went out early and they just couldn't rebound, but also I don't want to diminish the win because it's the biggest Illinois or SIU football win in decades. But North Dakota State was without the quarterback, Trey Lance, who I will admittedly say I had forgot that he had opted out. So when I first saw the score, I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then I was like, oh man, they don't have their full team.
And here's the thing though. North Dakota State is like Alabama.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
At that level.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who the quarterback is.
Yes.
They have somebody else lined up ready to take over.
The guy they played at Iowa State. Like he started his career at Iowa State. So he was a talented kid as well.
It's a quarterback machine there. I mean, they're producing NFL.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the verdict's still out about Carson Wentz, but NFL caliber quarterbacks at that school. So, and they were still the number one ranked team without him.
Yeah,
so, I mean, so I guess my question is,
North Dakota State was a 16-point favorite, which came out the day before the game. So,
okay.
I mean, they take that into effect that Lance isn't playing.
So here's my question. You have the game against North Dakota,
Yeah.
and you have the game against North Dakota State. One was awful, and the other one was you just destroyed the best team in the country. Where does Southern really fit on
I
the
knew that's where you were
spectrum?
going with this.
Like,
I think it's more so what we saw on Saturday. I really do. Lyles went out. I think it was the first half. I know Lyles went out in the first half, the starting quarterback, and it was still close at North Dakota. So second half, you come out, and I will admit I didn't watch much of the second half, but I get an update every time they score, and it just kept going. So
yeah,
it just had to be one thing after another. But I think they're closer to the level that they played on Saturday at home against North Dakota State. I really do. I think this team, Nick has this team, I think more where he wants it here in, I think, year 5
yeah.
for him. So I do think that is where they end up, and I think they are a playoff team probably. I mean, if you can beat North Dakota State, you're likely a playoff team. But yeah, there was something else I was going to say about that, but I can't remember. So
No, I mean they should be. They're on that trajectory.
yeah.
To get to to be a playoff team. It's nice to have spring football. I mean, that's
Oh
just
yeah.
not something we're used to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just to have that option. I was excited about Sluky basketball this season after they go to Hinkle and
Yep.
beat Butler. I was pretty excited about that. Things have not gone as well for them.
Yeah.
Although they did almost pull off a win on Saturday. That would have been a fun day. I mean, it already was a fun day for Southern, but had you beaten the number 1 football team in the country, and then you beat the top whatever they were 23 basketball team later that night, that would have been in a non-COVID time, would have been a hell of a time in Carbondale.
I know.
I don't know what it's like down there now, but
I would have drove down and reopened Pinch Penny Pub, man. I
I miss Pinch Penny Pub.
I know. I'm glad I got one last stop before it went away. But I had the social media post ready to go. Like, when was the last time a Division I school beat a ranked team on the same day in football and basketball? Like, it had to have been a long time ago, because the schedules kind of don't line up, right?
Yeah. No,
Because
I'm sure.
football, Division I football ends like Thanksgiving weekend. That's Illinois Northwestern every year. It's Thanksgiving
Yeah.
weekend.
No, that's
So
probably true.
I mean, I feel like it would have been a long time, and it no doubt in my mind would have went down as the biggest day in SIU athletics history, for sure. But I without Marcus Damask, talking SIU basketball now for those of you that care, because no one asked us. Without Marcus Damask, this team has just, I don't want to say done a nosedive, but I don't even know what the record is. They were 7-0 with
Not
him,
good.
and now I think they're 11-13. So it's just, I tweeted this a couple of days ago. It's hard to watch SIU without Damask, and so for them to have single digit losses to Loyola, a top 21 team in the country, that says a lot. But without Damask, I don't see them making much noise. It's been kind of a disappointment.
No, I agree. Either way, I like the direction that both those programs are going.
Yes.
Both, Nick Hill's football program and Brian Mullins' basketball program. I think they're definitely on the rise, because when we were in school, it wasn't good. It was not pretty.
No.
I remember I don't know what the number was, but the combined record and winning percentage between football, men's basketball, and women's basketball while I was on campus was absolutely atrocious. Football had a good season my freshman year. And then after that, it was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some bad everything. Basketball and football. I mean, those were the sports that I was spending the most time around at the time. And so it's just nice to see, that they, they're heading in the right direction. And I don't follow it as much anymore, but it's just nice to know that, things are looking up a little bit. I know Nick a little bit, so it's nice to kind of just see, the success he's having. And so
last football playoff appearance was 2009, which would have been the year before I got to SIU.
That was
junior college that year.
fall of 2009.
Oh no, that would have been my freshman year.
That
Yeah,
was my.
not freshman, first year at SIU.
That was.
So school year of 2010.
Yeah, that was my freshman year. That was
Yep.
the last year McAndrew.
So that was the first year we were both
Chris
at
Deeker,
SIU then.
Deji
Yep.
Kareem.
Yep.
Yeah.
They won their first round game against Eastern Illinois, blew the doors off of them.
Yep.
And then lost to William and Mary by 21 in the second round.
I remember.
Yep. But I agree with you. Both programs are in a good place. Young coaches that went to school there, and at the mid-major level, I think that says a lot because they know.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's what they have.
Yep.
I think that's tremendous.
Nick, especially being from Southern Illinois, only 20 minutes away from Carbondale. I think it's huge. As long as he has success, I think he's going to stay there. I don't think he's a guy that's going to go for a job that's of equal status. Now, if a FBS job comes calling, I wouldn't blame him at one bit for taking it. But yeah, I think they're in a good spot. I'm happy for Nick because I know him as well. He grew up in DuQuoin, right, 15 minutes from Pinckneyville, so I know his brother a little bit. So yeah, I'm really happy with the future of the two programs that we care about at SIU the most. So.
All right, so we are, as I said earlier, we are recording this Sunday night after the Golden Globes, which is, usually a big night for Logan on on the Logan calendar, just because, I'm a big movie guy. But it was an interesting night. It's been an interesting movie year, I think, and I think that kind of is really kind of culminating with award season. Not a ton of surprises really for me. It wasn't like a couple years ago when Bohemian Rhapsody and Green Book won, and I was just pissed. I just didn't understand some of those, but last year was fine, and this year there really wasn't a ton for me to bitch about. But Nomadland was the best picture drama, which I was kind of surprised by. I think it is the best movie of the year. It's on Hulu. I do recommend it. I just didn't think the Globes would pick it. I figured they would probably go with Trial of Chicago 7, which had the big cast and, Aaron Sorkin, who they love, who they've nominated a ton, who won screenplay tonight. I just kind of figured that would be the route they would go. But I was pleasantly surprised with Nomadland. Borat won in the comedy. Okay, let's talk about Borat. Did you watch Borat's subsequent movie film?
No.
Did you watch the first Borat?
Yes.
Okay. So the original Borat, which came out like a decade ago, was far superior to Borat's subsequent movie film. I have my thoughts on this. The girl, Maria Bakalova, was great. She is somebody that Sausage has found out of nowhere and brought on to play this role, play his sister. And she was phenomenal. She's the one that's been getting the buzz for award season. I still think she's a candidate to get an Oscar nomination, and that's deservedly so. Borat's subsequent movie film is not as good as the first one. Anyway, it's the Globes. They have their comedy category. There wasn't a lot of good comedies this year. Usually the comedy category has one or two legitimate like Oscar Best Picture nominees thrown in there. This year, that's not the case. And a lot of it, it's the 2020, it's the COVID situation. A lot of movies just didn't happen. But Borat winning, the other option there was Hamilton, which I love Hamilton. I wore a Hamilton shirt on this show last week. We've talked about this. I'm super glad that Hamilton is on Disney Plus for me to watch whenever I want. Hamilton is not a movie. It just shouldn't have been. Like, the Golden Globes tend to make a lot of silly decisions. And
so it qualified for the Globes because they released it on Disney Plus. That's
yes.
That makes it a movie.
I guess, yeah. I don't know what their standards are. It's not qualifying for the Oscars.
Interesting.
And I don't really know why one works and one doesn't. In my mind, it's not a movie. It's a stage play that they filmed. It's still great. I still love it. Had it beaten Borat, I would have been okay with it just because it was there. And Palm Springs, in my opinion, was the best comedy movie of the year, bar none. And it was a nominee, but apparently it's not getting the love. It was, I don't know why it lost to Borat, but anyway, that's really the biggest question mark. That category also had a movie called Music from Sia that
I'd never
is
heard
interesting.
of that.
Well, here's the thing, and I agree. I had also never heard of it. I watch a lot of movies and I follow a lot of movie stuff. I listen to a lot of movie podcasts and watch a lot of movie reviewers on YouTube talking about movies that are coming up. I had not heard of this movie. Like I know every movie that's coming out. I don't always see every movie that's coming out, but if it's in discussion for something, I at least am aware of it. I had no idea this was a thing.
Wow.
And I've heard it's not great. How it got in there, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it really wasn't. I was surprised by Andra Day, who won actress drama. I figured that could have gone to a few different people. Viola Davis from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Carey Mulligan from Promising Young Woman, which is probably my favorite movie of the year. I was surprised with Andra Day. I've not seen United States versus Billie Holiday, but I had not seen that predicted anywhere. So other than that, not a lot of surprises. Soul was, we talked about it offline a little bit, but you hadn't finished Soul, so you need to go back and watch Soul. Soul is not a kid's movie, Craig.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I don't know what your how far you got into the movie, but it's not dark. It's just for adults.
Yeah.
It's just a movie for adults.
And you don't find animation movies for adults very often.
No. Sausage Party.
Did you see Sausage Party? Too. Oh my gosh.
That's a whole different level. Yeah. So from the TV side, I don't keep up with a ton of TV.
Right.
Schitt's Creek I had seen, and Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is a fan favorite.
Love that.
If you haven't seen Ted Lasso, you definitely need to check it out. Craig, you've seen it?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Ted Lasso?
I think it's a great. I think there's a market for it, obviously, because it's a sports show that's probably marketed to 18 to 40 year olds. Probably.
I was about to say, hold on. I was about to say 30 because I was thinking that's old, but I'm like, I'm about to turn 30. You've already been 30.
31.
So, 30 is not old anymore, but yeah, it's definitely, as you're saying, 18 to 40 years old.
Yeah. So yeah, I was happy to see that. I think I knew it was nominated, but I guess I didn't expect it to win. I don't remember what it was up against either, but when they said it, I was like, oh yes, nice. And then
Ted Lasso is just a charming show. Yeah. It's just a fun.
Yeah. Yep.
It's experience.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with Ted Lasso, it's essentially, if you've seen Jason Sudeikis's commercial bit that he ran with NBC Sports promoting Premier League, he basically plays the role of an American football coach that goes over to take over to be the head coach of a Premier League team. That's essentially what the premise of the show is.
Yep.
It's great television. It's on Apple TV Plus. It's of all the shows that I could recommend to people that are probably watching this show or listening to us talk right now. Yeah. If you have access to Apple TV Plus, I highly recommend Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I think
it's incredible TV.
Our demographic's very similar to Ted Lasso.
It would be. It would be very much. So I think that's probably my biggest takeaway from trial or from not trial from the Globes in general.
Yeah. Did trial win anything other than Sorkin?
No, just Sorkin. I figured it would win Best Picture.
That was my next question. You put your predictions out like the night before, a couple nights before.
Yeah, I did. Well, I started off strong. I didn't finish strong. I wasn't super confident about most of these.
I feel like it
In
was a
fact,
hard year to predict.
I had Nomadland at first. And then I decided, you know what? Trial seems like the more Globes pick. So I'm going to change it to Trial. And then it
So
ended
were
up
your
going towards Nomadland.
predictions what you thought the Globes would do or what
Yes.
you would pick?
What I thought the Globes would
Okay.
pick.
Okay.
No, my picks will come later. The Logies are coming. We
Yeah,
could have a
when
whole episode
we
dedicated to the
will.
Logies.
We'll have a special
Those are coming.
Tuesday night episode of the Logies.
I've pretty much hit everything I want to hit. There's a couple more that if I get to them, I wouldn't mind adding them, but I'm pretty sure everything is set for what I would pick. So I just kind of need to put it together and get it out there. So
Yeah.
Is that is coming soon.
Okay. I didn't
Don't
know
you
if that
worry.
was a spring or like a summer thing.
No, it's usually, well, it started as I was trying to do it like right after the first of the year. But what happened was I wanted to keep it in line with award season.
Yeah.
And so many, because I don't live in a big city. I don't live in New York or LA or Chicago. So I don't always get access to movies for a few weeks after. So, you know, to be considered eligible for that window in a normal year, as long as it like gets some sort of a theatrical release during the year, then it's eligible for the following, you know, Oscars or Golden Globes or whatever. So it usually takes me a few weeks after the first of the year to catch up with everything. This year, because of COVID, everything's been pushed back a little bit. So like there's still movies like The Father, which was a big one that was nominated for a lot of stuff tonight. Still, it's not available. It's not even going to be available to like late March. Like I'm just not going to I'm going to be done with my movie year by that point. So that'll come soon. I'll have plenty to say about some of these movies and some other ones that didn't get mentioned. So
I thought it was cool. Chadwick Boseman won.
Yes. Yeah. And I forgot, I meant to say that. Yeah.
His wife accepted on his behalf.
Yes, that was great. I figured that he would win. I thought there's a chance it could have gone to Anthony Hopkins, but I figured it would be Chadwick. I was impressed with her being able to get out the words that she did.
Yep.
You know, like
you could tell from the beginning that she was already struggling, and then for her to get through the speech, it was really good.
That would be so hard.
Yeah.
It's just been I'm sure it's just been a terrible year for her. It was, I mean, she obviously knew what was happening. None of the public did. It was a shock to all of us, but no, he was incredible. He was in two great movies this year. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and Defy Bloods, which are both on Netflix. He'll probably get an Oscar. He'll definitely get an Oscar nomination for one of them, if not both of them. I think it's definitely possible. So it happened to be his last two performances, unless he maybe shows up as a cameo in a Marvel thing that they're not telling us about. But yeah, those are probably his last two performances. And he had such a great short career. But I mean, some of the roles that he took on with Jackie Robinson and James Brown and then taking over Black Panther and having the success in that movie that he did, he's definitely going to be missed. That was that was a hard day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember exactly. I was sitting in the recliner at my parents' house, man. I remember it's one of those that I'll remember for forever because
I was also at my parents' house. That's funny.
I mean, it's just one of those that was unexpected. Like the Kobe and the Chadwicks and those you'll remember for a while. I mean, he took on some iconic Black roles. He played so many Black heroes that he's going to be remembered for a lot of his work for a long time.
Yeah. So that was it was good to see him get recognized for for not only the work that he did in Ma Rainey, but a lot of the times, especially with the Oscars, which will be coming up here in April. But a lot of the times, though they give those awards to people that deserve it maybe for the course of their career.
Yeah.
And just knowing that he's not going to have any more opportunities to do that. So it's nice that he's, getting that recognition.
Are there similarities to Heath Ledger's win as Joker?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's not the first time, it won't be the last. There's a posthumous, award, but yeah, absolutely. That Heath Ledger's Joker was just an incredible role. I mean, I would, from an acting performance, I'd put Ledger's performance over Boseman's in this, but but definitely same situation.
Yep.
yeah, that was a hard watch just to watch her get through that, but it was powerful just to know that she was able to do that, and that was the tearjerker. I mean,
Yep.
that was that.
In
Well,
the
the kids. Did you
yep.
catch that? The kid,
Mhm.
the guy from TikTok. Have you seen
Yep.
his TikTok things?
I've seen a couple. Yeah. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen a couple.
So that made me laugh for a while, and then I'm like, oh wow, this is gonna make me cry.
Yeah.
So that was cool. So a lot of Chadwick Boseman love during the Globes, and I'm sure we'll see more of that as we get to the Oscars here in a couple weeks. I got a good segue though, because one other thing I wanted to talk about with the Globes
Segue.
is Chloe Zhao, who won Best Director for Nomadland and then won Best Picture for Nomadland. As I've said, Nomadland is a great movie. It's not necessarily a movie I'm going to recommend to everybody to watch. It's probably not for everyone. It's not the best, fastest moving movie. It's not the most thrilling movie. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because Chloe Zhao is her next project is Marvel's Eternals, which is coming out at the end, supposed to be probably last year. I don't even know what the timeline is at this point, but I have heard some incredible things about this movie. I have heard from source people that are in the know, that are connected to Marvel Studios, have said things along the lines of, this is the best thing we've ever done. Don't know how, I take it for what it's worth. I've just heard that from other sources. But knowing that Chloe Zhao is directing that movie, and the cast that movie has, very excited for that.
Not gonna lie, I'm having to do some research right now to see what the
do some
Eternals are.
Googling on Eternals. It's got a strange but awesome cast. It has.
Should I read them off for our listeners?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Angelina Jolie.
Yep.
Richard Madden.
Yep. Game of Thrones fame.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yep. Got really ripped for that role.
Salma Hayek.
Yep.
Kit Harington. Yep. Game of Thrones fans.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren Ridloff, Brian Tyree Henry.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be
okay.
I'm not saying
a lot of characters that I'm not familiar with, but okay.
I think it's gonna have some Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. That when that movie came out in 2015, no one knew what the hell it was.
Yeah.
Who are these people? Because at that point, the Marvel universe had, we'd seen Iron Man, we'd seen Captain America, we'd seen Thor, we'd seen, whatever, like the Hulk, like we knew these characters.
Yeah.
And then they released Guardians of the Galaxy, and people were like, what the hell is this? It ended up being a huge hit. I think Eternals is going to kind of be the same thing. I think they're like Celestials. I think
your favorite Marvel movie, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of my segue into the Marvel discussion, because WandaVision,
I'm caught up.
Released episode 8, and Craig is officially caught up.
Yes.
How does it feel?
It's good.
Are you mad at me for like forcing you to watch it? Or
no, not at all. Not at all. Okay. I would have got around to it, but us doing this show made me make it more of a priority. Yeah, it's good that I'm caught up, because I'm one of those that I don't necessarily like to read spoilers, but I like to read recaps of what has happened in case I missed something, or to put a bow on things. So I'm able to read stuff and without spoilers, and help me put a bow on the first 8 episodes. So yeah, it's a good feeling, and I'm still interested to see how it ends.
I am too, and I don't want to get into a ton of spoilers.
Yeah.
On WandaVision, I don't think that our podcast is the place for that. But it's been good. I've found it to be really good TV. There's been some slow episodes. There's been, not every episode is grade A television. Mm-hmm. But I think Elizabeth Olsen has been great. I think Catherine Hahn has been phenomenal.
Yes.
Her, just the different. Again, I don't want to get into spoilers, but just the way her character has changed over the course, and how episode 8 ended was just like a brilliant performance, I thought, from her. So I've been very pleased with this. I'm very excited to see what happens. Episode 9, I don't think obviously there's going to be things that aren't resolved, and that'll be for another movie coming up. But I'm glad that you made your way through it and you caught up.
Yeah,
I was worried.
Did you see this week or this weekend? I think it was BuzzFeed did an article like people are losing their minds to learn that Elizabeth Olsen is the sister of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen.
Yes.
I mean, spoiler alert for those that didn't know that.
Yes. She is the infamous Lizzie. If you're familiar with the Olsen videos that they used to do,
Yeah.
they would always reference Lizzie as their younger sister. They would poke fun at Lizzie. Lizzie is now the famous Olsen,
right?
And Mary-Kate and Ashley may be billionaires, but they haven't been in the public spotlight in eons.
Yeah.
And now little Lizzie is the star. I mean, she's
been really
leading.
good.
She's leading the way.
Yeah.
And here's the thing I want to point out. I thought about this earlier. So comic book movies have been not totally shut out. They're starting to get a little bit of love from awards type things.
Yeah, Black Panther won a couple, right?
Black Panther was nominated at least. Logan.
Okay.
Logan was nominated for screenplay when it came out. But what I'm getting at is The Mandalorian was nominated for Golden Globes, and it might have even been nominated for Emmys. I wonder if WandaVision might have an avenue for TV route if the Academy of Motion Picture and Arts can't open the door enough for superhero movies, then maybe the TV people will open up the door a little bit to get some Marvel superhero love with their awards. I don't know, just something I thought about the other day. We'll have to see what happens with that. But
what should our moratorium be here on discussing specifics of the show? Should we put a disclaimer right now, or should we just be like,
do you want to? Do you want to get into specifics? We haven't really talked about it in depth.
I think I was just gonna ask you what you think's coming in the finale.
That's fair.
So spoiler alert. If you don't,
we'll do a little bit of a spoiler alert. I'll try to keep it pretty tame. Well, the character that we saw at the very end of episode 8 in the post credit or the mid credit,
okay.
The all white gentleman, or android or whatever he is, we're obviously going to see some sort of a showdown there.
Yeah.
That's setting up that I do believe. We've talked about this a little bit. So you're not as super in tune with a lot of the theory talk and all this stuff.
Just what you've told me.
Well, are you familiar with Paul Bettany's comment that he made about this cameo?
Yes.
He referenced at one point that, well, not necessarily a cameo. Paul Bettany in an interview at one point referenced that there was somebody coming up in the show that he has always wanted to work with. I don't know what he said, something along the lines of a great living actor, somebody he's always wanted to work with. So there's been all these theories as to who this person might be, what role they might be playing. Is it somebody we've already seen in the Marvel universe? Is it somebody from a different Marvel universe? Who is it? I'm wondering now if he was just referencing himself.
Okay. That's one of the theories that I had read.
I could be, I mean, who knows? We could see. I still think somebody else could show up, because I think we haven't seen Ralph, her, Agnes's or Agatha's husband that she's referenced. I think there's still a lot that could happen.
Yeah.
This next episode is probably going to be closer to an hour. I still think there's a lot that could happen, but I'm just wondering if that person that Paul Bettany was referencing that he's always wanted to work with was him saying that I've always wanted to work with myself.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be probably fighting against himself. So no, sorry, spoiler alert. But so I think that's still on the table. Obviously we're gonna get some sort of showdown with who's battling who, I don't know. But Monica's still on. There's everything still. Episode 8 was all exposition, so we have no idea what's going on with Monica or Vision or Pietro or what she call him, fake Pietro. Hayward. We don't know what's going on with anything outside of little journey that Wanda and Agatha went on during that episode. It's a great episode, but it didn't really, and that's kind of what I was expecting. I figured episode 8 would be
Right.
Backstory as to
Right.
how we got here, which it kind of was.
Yes.
But yeah, there was the one line that everybody's talking about, the line about grief is just love persevering or something like that. Was everybody's talking about that line as being like the greatest line in Marvel history, which maybe second to I Love You 3000, but so anyway,
episode 8, it tied up and makes the show make a lot more sense, and not just the show, it makes a lot of the MCU make a lot more sense to me, at least. Because I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of the MCU, but there's so many intricacies with interweaving storylines that it's tough to keep up with.
Yeah.
And this one really helped tie up loose ends with multiple characters, especially Wanda. You see a lot of what she has gone through and how she gets to where she is now.
Right. And that was what I found so ridiculous about your comment that you made, about
we're still
her
talking
character.
About this.
Well, what I'm getting at is that we didn't know her. She didn't have any screen time.
Yeah.
We met her and her brother in Ultron, and we had a little bit, but we finally got to learn more about her, and she's gonna be huge in this universe.
Yeah.
Coming up, I think what we're setting up is she's probably going to be the villain of the Doctor Strange movie. I think that's the direction we're headed.
Yeah.
Because and this isn't a huge spoiler, but we're finally calling her the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, that's what I was
which we haven't done in as long as she's been in the universe.
First time.
So yeah, I think that's a good chance that's what we're setting up, because we know she's going to be in that movie. So
I know we've talked a lot, and we're probably about gonna, if not already, we're probably gonna go over an hour for this episode. But is she kind of like Loki, where you're not sure if she's good or she's bad? Like, is she a hero or a villain?
And I'm not super in tune with the comics.
And that's another thing that I thought of watching this. Like, these are all comics. Like, we're enthralled with these storylines, but these are comic books that we could have read years ago.
Yes, but the thing about it is they're pulling from different stories. They're pulling from the comic books. Every story, like a character dies and they come back, and like there's just so much that they're pulling from. So like this particular season of WandaVision, people are saying they're pulling from, I think it's House of M, and they're pulling from the West Coast Avengers. Like they're pulling from these different storylines.
That makes sense.
I think for the most part, Wanda is usually a good guy. I don't know that, I don't know the whole story there, but she's also technically a mutant. So at some point they're gonna. That was the other thing. People are okay. Let me get this out there.
Everyone prepare yourself right now.
So, okay. Marvel has let us know that there's going to be a new movie coming up that's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Okay. Multiverse indicates multiple universes. We as fans are well aware that Disney now owns Fox and all of the Marvel properties. So for Kevin Feige and Marvel to bring in Evan Peters, pick him up from another universe and to bring him in, and for us not to think that they're trying to tie the X-Men universe and the MCU together. Mm-hmm. Like I just don't know if they just didn't think we would try to connect that, because now they're trying to say no, that's not what we're doing at all. Like, he's not the same guy. It's literally just stunt casting. But it's just okay, but why would you do that?
Is this where your other theory on who we could possibly see comes in? Or is that different?
No. Well, yes and no. I mean, it's because we do know we're getting the Fantastic Four. not in WandaVision, but there is going to be, now that Disney owns Fox, they can do whatever they want with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. So we are getting a new Fantastic Four movie at some point here in the next few years.
Which there have been like 6 of them in the last 10 years, right?
Yes. The first one was okay with Chris Evans. That's another theory I had heard, is that Chris Evans might appear as whatever his name is, Johnny Storm or whatever, from Fantastic Four. It's just some sort of stupid fan theory.
Yeah. Is that the one with Jessica Alba too? Or
yes.
Is that different? Okay.
Yeah. And then they rebooted it with a great cast.
Yeah. Michael B. Jordan,
Miles Teller, Kate Mara. It was like, that had every reason to be a good movie, and it was awful.
Jennifer Lawrence is in something, right?
Yep, she was in the X-Men, but now they're talking about she might be the new Sue Storm. So, I don't know. There's a lot going on. We don't need to keep rambling on about that. But
this has been a long episode.
WandaVision is great. Episode 9 coming up this weekend. Very excited.
I'm going to say right now, next week we're going to recap the whole show. So there will be spoiler alerts next week.
Okay. Yes.
I'm going to put that out there now. Next week's episode, we're going to recap the entire season of WandaVision. So be prepared to mute or turn off. I'll never tell you to turn off our show, except for this. If you don't want spoilers in WandaVision.
We're going to have a lot to talk about. We might have to do a separate episode just to talk about WandaVision.
No, we got what, 5? We got 5 subjects today, 6. We'll try and cut it down to 2 or 3 next week.
We'll do our best.
2 Illinois basketball games. Shout out to the other Illinois sports though too. Men's golf won a tournament this week. Softball team is off to a great start. So Illinois athletics is looking good right now. But next week we got 2 Illinois games to talk about. Look ahead to Big Ten tournament.
Yep,
we'll be that weekend.
We didn't even talk about spring training. Your Cardinals started today.
Did Cardinals play today?
No, they play tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not even televised, or I don't even know if it's on radio.
Oh gosh.
So
I watched the Cardinals today. It was spring training. They did this. Flaherty threw like 23 pitches in the first inning, and they just the 2 managers decided with the bases loaded. Nationals had the bases loaded with 1 out. The 2 managers were like, "All right, we've seen enough. Let's move to the bottom of the first." I was like,
"Spring training for you."
What?
I read that they're going to be a little more lax with that this year, unless it's a national televised game. Okay. If it's a national televised game, then they'll play it straight. But when it's not, they'll.
Mike Schilt did an in-dugout interview with the Fox Sports Midwest team, and he was like, "Yeah, I called Davey Martinez Friday afternoon. It was like, if we get to the bottom of the 9th and the Cardinals are winning because they were the home team, they agreed that they would still play it just to get at bats. So it sounds like it's going to be kind of a backyard pickup game this year, which I'm fine. I was just happy to have baseball on TV.
Baseball's back
and laying on the couch. So
baseball's
I was excited.
Back.
Yep.
Well, good stuff. Anything else you wanna chime in on?
I'm good.
I think we've hit our max, huh? You think the people are done with us?
We might get one more episode out of them.
He's Craig Schote. I'm Logan Lee. This has been No One Asked Us, and we will see you next week sometime. Who knows when? Probably Monday, though. Bye!